What's going on, everyone? It's me, Asher Campbell, the greatest card game player in the world, and today I am joined by Average Bloom, Isaac McDonald's, whatever you want to call him. Say
Hey,
hi, buddy.
what's up? I'm Isaac. You can call me Average Bloom or Average. Yeah, that's me.
That's you.
That's
Sweet.
me.
So right here we are interviewing I guess it's kind of an interview, our four-time new type challenge winner, and we have a diverse portfolio here with your different wins you got going on here. Let's start talking about that. What all have you won with?
Yeah. The first one I was able to get there with this Xeon Burn is what I like to call it. It's really just like red white, all the good ping stuff, and then like Qubeley top end with Sananju. The second one I was able to get there with classic green white, but with a little bit of a twist, as you can see with Death Scythe and Duo and stuff. Um, and then the last two were with a blue white aggro deck that was heavily inspired from the blurple blue purple aggro and 1 Year War aggro decks, but I wanted to put my own spin with it and play the white package because I feel as though it's just incredibly good. If you couldn't tell with the fact that red white, green white, blue white, there is a common theme here for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, the Amuro Kira package is just a monster to deal with, being entirely honest there. So that's
Yeah.
definitely the biggest deck. So we'll save that one for last. But let's start with going over the specifics of your red white deck that you got here. So let's talk about your counts, your pilots, and like your lines of play, what matchups you hit, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so for actual card counts, it's pretty basic, I like to think. Play sets of Lefrith and Rick Dios, they're just like the best blockers. There's no reason to play Zawart whatsoever because we get to play a playset of close combat. So this is our level 2 drop. It effectively does the same thing. It might not be able to trade with a Rizal, but it does set up for a lot of plays to be able to kill things like Rizal or things that are bigger than that. You can pretty often actually kill Wing Gundams and stuff through just like a combination of this burst and you playing this, and then Kshatriya pings or having a Battle of Aces or Rolula. It's pretty easy to be able to hit some of the higher damage numbers, is what I found. Past that, it's the typical Kshatriya, Sinanju, and Qubeley for the rest of the units. There is the baby Kshatriya here. The primary reason for this is just to increase the amount of link targets that you have, since we do play the playset of Merida and the two full frontal here. And it's also a card that the only card that we can play off of full frontal, and so having that additional synergy is really nice. Past that, the actual rest of it, I do think is pretty basic. You got overflowing. You have your bases here, Rolula and Mining Asteroid. I do think that this is a good split. Mining Asteroid is really nice because it has the 6 health, and against those aggressive matchups, it will usually buy you like an additional turn or at least an additional attack, which can translate into more turns, which is very, very relevant. But Rolula being able to ping just when it's burst out is super relevant. And actually, the way that I was able to win the Newtype, the final round, I had this burst out, which dealt a damage, got rid of their blocker, and I was then able to go and swing for game. So it's super relevant. Um,
Yeah.
Battle of
Uh,
Aces is
uh,
crazy. Striker Pack is crazy. It's just kind of like red white good stuff is really how I like to think of this.
that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. I was going to say there. Apologies for interrupting you there.
You're good.
Um, You'll notice a common theme of as many bursts as possible when looking at some of Isaac's decks here, and that just goes to show how important having those types of cards are in Bandai games. You see it in Union Arena, you see it in One Piece. Just having that extra effect during your opponent's turn is just really strong, especially when you're able to kill units at the same time. So you pretty much answered any questions I would have had. I was going to talk about the split of the bases. That was the only real thing. So do you have any other things you'd want to talk about for this deck, or how you'd play certain matchups before we move on?
Yeah. One thing I would definitely say is if you're expecting a lot of aggro, like if you have a lot of 1 Year War or Blurple, or if this blue white deck does actually pop off, we'll get to that later, I guess. and people start playing that, and you see a lot of that. I think that this is actually an excellent deck into those matchups, and it's precisely the reason that you were saying, where we have so many bursts, we have so many relevant effects that can happen not just on our turn, but also on the opponent's turn to be able to bring tempo or to really help stabilize boards. So many times it's actually terrifying for your opponent to attack into you because what if they hit the close combat and then their guy dies, or what if they hit into the base, or what if they give you the pilot for you to be able to link and then just go crazy. And being able to get into your end game with this deck against those aggro decks is just game over. You stick Sinanju and Qubeley, and you start get or even Kshatriya a lot of times, honestly, and you get their link off, you attack. It's just game over. It almost feels like. They're so large, their impact is so immediate on the board. They're just removing things. They have to be answered, or they're just going to continue removing things. Um, yeah, if you're expecting a lot of aggro, this is an excellent deck in my opinion. You can probably tweak with the numbers a little bit. I feel very confident with this 50. I don't think there's anything I would really change. The three overflowing might seem a little bit weird, but more often than not, you're just kind of looking for action instead of a card that late game will draw you two, but then you have to discard one. And when you have no cards in hand and you draw two bangers, it feels really bad to have to discard one of those bangers. I'd rather just have a banger. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this deck.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't think I have any more questions about that. So, with that being said, is there any significant points in the matches during your new type you want to talk about, or we just want to move on to the next list here?
Um, Nothing too crazy. It kind of played out how I was expecting it to be. I was expecting a lot of aggro, and basically every round except for my round 3, I played against an aggro deck. Um, and even even the round 3, they still had like a good curve out. I would say that they were a bit more aggressive leaning. But yeah, this was a great deck, I think.
Sweet. Alrighty. Well, with that wrapping up there with your Xeon burn, let's move on to your green white list. What would you call this one here?
Yeah, this is just like Meteor what is it? Operation Meteor or G
Yeah,
Team? Yeah, Operation Meteor dot deck basically. Like we're playing Shenlong, we're playing Heavy Arms, we're playing Death Scythe, we're playing Wing, we're playing Wing Zero. This is yeah, we're basically Operation Meteor Tribal in a sense.
gotcha.
Um the big reason for it, I know a lot of people will play the Kira package with Ailstrike, and I do think it is very good, as we'll also see here in a little bit. Um, I think there is an advantage that you get though, if you're expecting a lot of green white or other go big matchups, like for instance, blue white Epion or something. Death Scythe being able to come down ramps you into Wing Gundam sooner. Sorry, Wing Gundam Zero sooner. It can just eat something for free. They still have to deal with it because it's just a 6/6 that's going to keep beating into stuff. There's a lot of value here, and that's what the reason I built this and I played this at the Newtype I went to that I got first with it is I was expecting more go big matchups. I figured there were going to be some green white or some blue white or just some more going long, and this is probably the best going long deck in the format. The fact that we have Wing Zero and we have Wing and just these busted cards. Shenlong is insane in the blocker matchups. It feels like there's no real favorable way to interact with this card, which I don't know how healthy it is. I am glad that it's almost exclusively good against blockers, but it does feel almost oppressively good against them. Um, yeah, that's kind of like the opening thoughts on this and why some of the differences, I guess.
Yeah, we're definitely like playing a little bit of the Goldilocks thing here. Where like this deck's for little matchups, this deck's for big matchups, and then our final deck here is like just right tempo in the middle of things. So
Yes.
without the Kira package, it definitely makes some matchups a lot more interesting. I know you talked a little about how like Shenlong replaces the Kira there for the green white mirror match, but
Mhm.
are there any other matchups where like you felt hurt not having Kira, or was it just fine and replaced by other things?
The big issue with losing the Kira package is you don't have Ale Strike to be able to bounce like the tokens or be able to have another blocker against the aggro matchup so that you can try and get into those turns later. To be able to like slam a wing zero so that you can just shut the game out. Um, Shenlong is noticeably worse in those matchups. So if you are expecting more aggro and you're wanting to still play green white, I'd probably just cut the Death Scythe package, play Ale Strikes, Kira's, probably trim a little bit on like some Cheng Wu Feis and maybe a hero, stuff like that. Thankfully, though, with this specific list, I did think of this and I tried to compensate for this fact by increasing on other counts. We're not playing Rick Diaz because I hate the synergy or the uh I guess the lack of synergy specifically, where you play it and then it just happens to die to your own wing zero. That just feels bad. I want to try and play as many things as possible that'll still last. Um, Notably, the only thing that really dies to wing zero here in our deck is Zawart and wing bird mode, but we don't really care about that at that point. That's just kind of whatever. Um,
Yeah, so what's your early attacker getting taken care of thing, which is that's
exactly.
like if you're ever playing a defensive deck, you play the Warts, and if you're ever playing an offensive deck, you play the Rick Diaz. Like Rick Diaz being able to take out the EX base when you happen to get ahead is just that much more significant.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't say that better myself. And then playing a really heavy striker pack and then unforeseen. Again, this kind of goes back to what we were saying with the red white deck, just playing as many bursts, relevant bursts as possible so that even on your opponent's turn, you still have relevant things that can happen that can help swing the tempo back in your favor. Um, I personally find Striker Pack to be a absurdly powerful card. I think that this is maybe the best white command. I don't know. Maybe that's crazy to say, but I think this card's insane.
It
Uh,
it definitely is. It's able to create a unit off life. That's just so strong.
yeah, yeah,
It literally wins you the game. Like if it ever happens, you know.
yeah, yeah. Which, speaking of that, that definitely happens a lot in the next deck.
Oh, yeah, 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 it's also happened to me a lot in that matchup.
Oh
So,
yeah, oh yeah,
I've experienced firsthand the having to calculate how many attacks you need and how many things you have to go through, and all that just getting thrown out by having a 3/3 ill strike just hit the field. You're like, "Alright, well, that's helpful."
yeah.
So, yeah, is that any other closing comments on this, or are we just moving to the big beast?
Um, I feel like this overall is a solid list. If I was going to be playing something like this strategy in the future, I'm not positive if I would be keeping the Death Scythe package just because I feel as though we have seen an increase in aggro and that's just something I would want to be able to make sure that we're prepared for. Having
Right.
the Ale Strike, Kira, bounce a dude, and then having the blocker, I would just want to try and be more safe than sorry.
Yeah, I feel like that's like one of those cards where you're just pinning it for later. I mean, it shows a lot right now the fact that Shenlong is a more expensive card than the Death Scythe, and there's a rarity
Yeah.
difference there. So like Death Scythe's definitely lost a lot of value, but it will return. People don't freak out. Don't panic sell your
Yes.
Death Scythes.
Yes. Yes.
Especially if you're me and bought them for 30. Then don't do that
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely. If you're a day oneer like us and you bought these early, like don't just get rid of them. They will be used in the future. This is
Yeah,
still a very powerful card, and with certain shifts in the meta, it can be a lot more relevant. Like I said, if
right,
you're expecting more big things. I think that this is a really good way to be able to try and counter that or gain an edge in those matchups so that you're able to go bigger faster and then still have a really relevant thing on body or on board that can just trade with big bodies or eat
right,
big bodies first and then trade.
right, right, right. Alrighty. Well. I think it's time for us to move on to the what do we call this?
That I don't really have a pet name for this one. I just think this is like a blue white tempo. I probably should be a bit more creative with that. This is
Amuro and Kira's fun day out, something like that. I don't know.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
besties.
Yeah, they're just wanting to they got tired of bricking on Epions and Zex and they just wanted to
They
rage
just wanted
on
to have
out.
some alone time.
Yeah.
So our group since day one of testing together, like before the first regional event, we're just like the two best pilots in the game, or probably just arguably the best two cards in the game, are the effects on Amuro and Kira. And so putting them together is just that much stronger.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good combos that are really annoying to deal with. The biggest one is definitely when you already have an Ailstrike on field and then you get a trigger next turn Amuro and the Ailstrike effect at the same time.
Yes.
Getting rid of two units at the same time is huge into any matchup with baby attackers or with blockers because it just handles that wide of a range and variety. And with that, I'll let you take over. Tell us why there's no Zawarts in here. Tell us why there's no Elfriths, and then just talk about it in general.
Yeah, so this there's a little bit of a story behind this. This all started with me playing as you probably could have figured out from my comment earlier, me playing the blue white Epion list. And I do want to say I think that deck is very powerful. I think it is very strong. And there's a good reason why it won that regionals where was it? In the UK or something or
I can look it up real
or it was
fast.
like
You keep
EU.
talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super powerful deck. Unfortunately, Zex Marquise is just wow, that pilot is
Awful.
awful. It is such a
He's so
terrible
bad.
card. If you know, anytime you're like, oh, I can like play a Gundam and I don't have the Amuro, but like I can at least pilot it. Oh wait, Zex is level 5. I can't even do that yet, and I can't make my guys bigger. Uh,
Yeah.
just little things about the card are just annoying. And I got tired of bricking on it and early game level 7 drops. Like I yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about it, and I wanted to try and play this package of Kira Amuro because it's so strong, it's so powerful. But I wanted to just not brick as much. I wanted more live action. And I was thinking how the Blurple deck and the 1 Year War deck are very similar in that you just play a bunch of the one drops, you play the four Corsicas, you play a bunch of things that can crack base. They already play Gundam and Amuro, and then like whatever the little top end that they're choosing, if it's a Mikazuki and they're doing Gyujin and like Barbados, or if it is 1 Year War and they're maybe playing the one Char, and then their top end really is just like Gundam or the Char's Gelgoog. Uh, that's just like their top end. I wanted to try that, and so we went with 11 one drops, four Corsicas, a bunch of dudes that can crack a base just naturally. We already have the Gundam Amuro. We already had the Kira Ailstrike, and then Sword Strike is an incredibly strong card against aggro. And honestly, into other like mid range and other matchups as well. Like it's just kind of a big body they just got to deal with.
Yeah,
Um,
but Ailstrike, as someone who's played purple blue against him at multiple locals or new types, the game has been won just from the fact that I had to get one of my units returned to my hand, like every single time. Like setting me back not only one resource to put it back the next turn, it's huge, but also just not having that extra attacker for anything. It's just awful. It's
yeah,
so bad.
yeah, yeah. It this
um,
card can like put your opponents into a hole, and it feels amazing when you're the one doing it. But God, when you're on the other side, it feels awful. Um,
Yeah, and then another really like huge thing about why this deck is so successful as opposed to, I mean, obviously we have the success of Blurple and 1 Year War, but this deck is just so much better because it's not a deck that relies on the specific of like the combination of the specific pilot and unit. You can attach a pilot to another thing and still get a powerful effect, or you can, yeah, you can mix match all you want. Like Skyline swap force that bitch, and
Yeah.
you still got your powerful effects happening. Like you're like, oh, okay, I don't have the Gundam, but I can still Amuro you, or like Kira can still make this like minus whatever, and like
Yep.
I'm still getting progressively on the board. So you're not like, oh, I got Zex Marquise in my hand, I can't do shit with this. Like you're like, oh, I'm fine with any pilot or any unit.
Yep.
There's nothing I don't like seeing here.
Yeah, these are literally just, and this is part of the reason why these are just arguably the best cards in the game, is because they just go and pair with anyone. It doesn't matter who you put these on, they're gonna be nuts every time. You put Amuro on a GM, and that's still a pretty damn good Amuro if it tapped down a dude and you got through or you killed the guy. Like that's still pretty worth it. Or like
Yeah,
Kira, you get to like shrink the dude and eat it for free, even if it's on a Demi or a Hyzak. It's like that's just a favorable trade. Like what?
yeah.
Um,
But there's
one
also I don't
mhm.
remember if you talked about Corsica and the significance of that as a base in here.
I have so okay. This card, one of the things with playing the aggro decks with Blurple and with 1 Year War, that you'll find if you play it consistently, the best turn 3 that you have is just Corsica. The reason being is even though it's like taking away a shield, and so it might feel bad in the aggro matchups, it doesn't matter. It's not reducing your hand size, so you're able to like keep action going since it draws you a card basically. It adds a relevant body onto the board. The 4/2, it can crack base, it can trade with things. It doesn't just die to a Lafrith. It can actually like kill a Lafrith, or in some situations, maybe you can even eat it. I don't know, you put a pilot on that guy, not terrible. Um, and then the second one and the third one just closes out the game, making multiple dudes, especially when we are leveraging these aggressive bodies, these one drops and these two drops and stuff like we are. It can just end games. The moment you crack the base, it doesn't matter how big your guy is or what side. Like it just matters if they do a damage. So this is kind of the perfect card for aggro decks, i.e., it's kind of the perfect base for this deck.
Yeah, that's. I don't think there'd be anything else. I mean, there's argument for Nihilogramma. I tried that out, but it's just not as good as Corsica. I
Yeah,
mean, you already have plenty of effects. You don't need anything besides just okay. This is a base that's getting me 2 units. It's just three. Yeah, it's so strong.
yeah. Plus, Nahel Argama can't interact with a fully healthy Lefrith or a Striker Pack token. However, the 4/2 will always kill one of those, like either of those guys.
Right, right, right.
The other
Um,
little note that I do want to say with this deck is while it technically doesn't matter what one drops that you play, I would firmly argue that it is optimal to play a max amount of the blue one drops, which is why we're doing the 4 GMs and the 4 Hyzaks. And then since we don't have any more blue one drop 2/2s, we're just playing the 3 Demis. Doesn't matter if you play Nemo, it's the same thing. Um, it does matter for the blues though. The reason it matters is we get this kind of cool ability to disguise ourselves as though we're one of the other aggro decks. Blue red is even still a play because the Atherin build. So we go turn 2 double one drop GM Hyzak or double GM or double Hyzak. Well, our opponent doesn't know if we're blue purple, if we're blue red, if we're the 1 Year War blue green deck, if or if we're blue white. And so having that anonymity, I feel like can give you an edge because it can lead your opponent into playing differently than if they knew what you were playing.
right, and that's excuse me, pretty significant for that too, just because like there is so many different ways to position yourself on the board for the early game when you're like, okay, is this blue purple? Do I have to play around the pings? How fast am I going with my attacks? And that becomes really relevant too for us eating things with the Kira and stuff. Like if you're just entirely blue and then you early Kira take something and they're not expecting the trade, that's pretty huge.
Yes. Yeah. Um also, like if your turn 2 is double one drop and then like turn 3 you play Corsica, it's literally impossible to distinguish you from any of the other aggro decks. Like there's no way.
Right.
Um, the last little thing I would like to, I guess there's two other things to touch on. Thinking about it, Um, Striker Pack, I already kind of touched it. This card's insane. You agreed with me. This card's insane. This
Hmm.
card is especially insane in aggro decks. Imagine being the aggro player. You get a bunch of your opponent's shields down. Uh, they're about to stabilize. They got some blockers, but you just need like one more guy. And they like attack you with one of their non-blockers, and then you pop a 3/3 suddenly, and you just kill your opponent. Pretty often, stuff like that just happens. This card is busted and I think is secretly an aggro card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, obviously, it's great in the slower matchups, playing it, being able to play the 2/4, help stabilize. I do think this is secretly an aggro card. I don't think a lot of people realize it just yet.
I mean, I think you're making a fair argument here, especially with your results so far. You've won two. Have you a 100% win rate with your new types on this so far? Like just
Yes.
the two? Yeah, that's just crazy. And then I don't think you've lost a single like normal local with it either. Like it's
No,
just
not yet.
it's stabilized. With the exception of the one best of three wire beat to the first game, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, that's we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. You bricked a little bit. It's fine.
Um,
But
The other really cool thing with this deck is we're an aggro deck that just can draw so many cards. We're not playing the Anksha and Gun Tank package, but we get overflowing and we still have all the one drops, so it doesn't really matter there.
right.
Um,
I think there's an overvalue on Angshan Gun Tank right now in general, especially because like everyone's seen it. Everyone knows it's gonna happen.
mhm,
They're playing around it, and it's not like they're like, okay, that happened, but it's fine because most of the time they have the blockers to get over it, or like they don't even crack through bases that often. So
yeah.
it's just like you'd rather have more units at that point in time, and then have your bigger cards handle the bigger dudes. Like I said, like we've been saying, the Amuro and the Kira.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, you get this really cool line where, even if you don't have the double one drop on turn two, you can just play one drop overflowing, and that feels really, really good too. You've like helped filter your hand,
Right.
fix your draw, and then start prepping for a turn four Gundam Link Amuro or Sword Strike Link Kira, or like try and set up for a turn five Ale Strike Kira Link, bounce your guy, attack in.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen this guy's face change from sour to like, "Ooh, what's this?" Like so many times when he's like had to overflowing turn one, and then he's like, "Oh, never mind, we're chilling, we're fine." Like it's
Yes.
happened almost every time. I guarantee you.
Yeah. Yeah. The best thing about this deck is that we are an aggro deck that can just draw cards. And so even our awkward hands, we can very quickly just smooth out with just a couple of cards and then suddenly we're big chillin'.
Yeah, this deck is just kind of like the epitome of like what Gundam's about. Like, it's just like you're playing Gundam dot deck, you know?
Yes. Actual quite literally.
Yeah. Quite literally, Grandpappy Gundam in there.
Oh grandpa.
When you're obsolete, we'll know, but we'll respect you.
Yes, yeah, you will always have a place in our memory until I become
For your
Grandpa
birthday
Gundam and I
contribution.
have dementia and I can't remember this shit.
You're like, I won four new type challenges. That's great, Grandpa. Let's get you back to bed. All right.
All right, Grandpa, put the fries in the bag.
All right. Do we have any other closing comments? I mean, you talked a little bit about like matchups that we've had at locals and stuff, but I don't think you talked about your new type wins with those yet, or there's anything like significant for plays or like I feel like we've gone over most of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like plays are concerned, this deck is pretty simple. It's an aggro deck. You're playing the guys out. You're attacking in with them when it's optimal. I will say you do want to try and build up more of a board and try and do large chunks at a time is what I have discovered with this deck. It's not very efficient or optimal for you to just like turn two, you play the double two twos, and then turn three, you play the Corsica, and then you attack with both of the guys. There's no reason to attack with both of the guys. They might crack the EX space, but the Toggy's token that you just made should also crack it. And now your guys are also vulnerable, and so your board
A lot
presence
of
can
people make
go
that
down.
mistake.
There's a lot of ways to be able to fumble with this deck, I feel like, just because
Yeah.
you start getting eager and you attack in.
Yeah,
That I feel like
people see. and they're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna all gas, no brakes, just keep attacking and have no consequences."
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think that is the way that you want to play almost any of the aggro decks. I mean, maybe if there's some sort of super crazy hyper aggro all one drop deck that becomes meta, maybe that's what you do there. I don't know, but
I
um
mean, it might with the have you seen the new card that's like, if this is rested, it has to be attacked?
I've not seen that. No,
Yeah, it's basically perma blocker if it's rested, so, like, you can technically do that and then have to have that go up first, so
that's
we can talk more about
hilarious.
next yeah. A lot of theory crafting to do after this, but
Okay, okay. Um, yeah, but I feel like this deck is this might be a little egotistical or something. I do think that this is probably the strongest deck in the format currently.
oh, I 100% agree. You have the results to back it up, and you're probably one of the top Gundam players right now. I mean, it's fair to say you've done a good amount of like high ladder ranking online. You've won a lot of the bigger things here in our grand old state of Oregon, and you're beating the greatest card game player in the world, Asher Campbell. So I don't know what else you have going for you besides like when you go and win Vegas, but you know.
Ah, true. Hey, you know what? I'll remember you. Don't worry.
You'll
I'll
remember me when you're famous. Like,
when
oh,
they
who was
have
that? Who
that
was that guy I made the video with? What?
when I have my documentary done and I'm looking back on the past and just looking back on the good old days, I'll be like, it all started in that one beautiful card shop. I think his name was Ash Ketchum.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. I was waiting for the punchline there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I yeah, I feel like this deck is just crazy. It's so good. GDO 3 is about to be here, and so maybe it's not going to be so good in just a few weeks, but I mean, until that happens, I think this deck is just cracked. It
I,
feels
I
really
think I
good.
think Judo 3 gets better, which is crazy because we get extra Kara support too, which is just so funny.
I got to look over at some of the leaks. Oh man, I'm so excited.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um,
But
I will say, this deck does have one poor matchup I have found. If you have a lot of the blue white go big blockers like Freedom, Justice, they're curving the whole way up. Zawart, Rick Dios or Lefrith, Launcher Strike, Ale Strike, and it's just blocker, 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 blocker. That matchup is pretty terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you. It
hmm.
feels
And that
bad.
matchup was the reason why we considered having the Hellergamas in the first place at all ever was just like
Yes.
we kind of need or like what was it Siege Play? We thought about playing Siege Play for
Siege
a little bit
Ploy.
too,
Yep. Siege
which
Ploy and the Intercept Orders, I think, was the other one. Yeah.
but I mean, we decided that only one person like far away plays that, and they don't really do good at events anyway. So we're not gonna worry about it.
That's okay. Um, I yeah, if you are worried or like a lot of blue white is what's played in your local area, maybe don't play this deck. I will say. But if your local area is just like other aggro decks and green white, or like the red white deck, I feel like this deck maybe doesn't steamroll them, but it's a favorable matchup. I will tell you that.
Okay. Well, do we have any other closing remarks, or are we gonna record a little outro here?
Um, I can't really think of anything else too crazy. You already touched on the what the best play for this deck is, which is you have an Ale Strike out from the prior turn, and then you next turn play an Amuro on it,
Yeah.
deal with two of their guys, be able to get so much tempo. It's insane.
Right. All right, so appreciate you, Isaac, including us in all these fabulous new type wins and the tips and tricks ins and out of all your decks. Now we do have some more new types coming up for you for some more Quibleys and Hamon cards. So maybe we'll do another follow up video and talk about your experiences there, what changed. But yeah, so I appreciate all you guys for being here. Appreciate you, Isaac, for being here in this video, being interviewed, going back and forth. Got anything else you want to
No, that's it. Thank you so
say? Any
much.
shout outs?
I will definitely shout out you, of course, Mr. Asher Campbell, world's best card game player in the world.
World's greatest on Earth. Mars, there's someone better, but it's okay.
Yeah. But for real, shout out to you. I really appreciate being able to like run through ideas and do testing with you. Shout out to Eric, shout out to Taylor, my amazing, beautiful partner for being supportive and uh being there for me, even though I'm just traveling around the state and playing this nerdy ass card game. So I'm really grateful that she has enough faith in me to think that, maybe I'm not so trash and I could do this and be okay at it.
That's very sweet. Reverse shout out to that dog. Fuck that dog.
Oh my god, yeah, fuck that dog, man. Oh my god. Man, rest in peace, my Chrysler Sebring. Oh my gosh. Oh man. It brought me through the original 3 events, but man,
Yeah, the first new
rest in
type car.
peace. The first new type car, man. I will never forget her.